Hello and welcome to the Old School Vegan Podcast. I'm your host, Drew Andrew. Here we are looking to dive deep into vegan and vegetarianism, lifestyle, diets, journeys, discoveries, stories, epiphanies, wonders, nutrition, and whatever else fun we might find along the way. What this is not is an animal rights activist platform designed to exclude our meat-eating friends. No judgments, no soapbox, just information and intelligent conversation with interesting people from all walks of life. Hello and welcome to the Old School Vegan Vegetarian Show. I am your host, Drew Andrew, and if this is your first time stopping in, I appreciate that. If you're returning, even better. I'm looking forward to building an audience here and providing you with information that may be of value. Also, we have some interviews coming up with some very interesting people that I think you're going to really enjoy, so stay tuned for those things. Today, I thought we'd start out with a few things that have been on my mind. You know, a lot of times we have ingredients in some of the products we utilize that we're really not aware they are sourced from animal products. So it's very, very easy to consume things that have animal products in them without really being aware of that because they're not disclosed. A lot of times they're hidden. And it's kind of naughty and nasty, isn't it? In America, we do have a lot of things here that they don't have in other countries. I know in Europe they have banned certain things like red dyes and hormones and steroids and things that are allowed here in our foods. I believe they don't have any aspartame over in Europe, and you'll find aspartame in a lot of products like Diet Coke. You know, these products are known to cause cancer. They're not good for you. And we don't seem to have much of a care in this country about people's well-being. And, you know, corporations are more interested in profit than your well-being. And you should be aware of that. It's not really good for you. It's not really ethical. But a lot of times things that happen in certain countries are not really for the benefit of the people. We have a current administration that is very much focused on profit and keeping us in the dark, limiting our information, limiting and censoring things that we want to say. And for a place known as a hub of freedom, we are sorely lacking in freedom, and we are getting more and more and more and more oppressed as time goes on. And if the current administration has their way, we are really heading in a backwards direction, which is unfortunate. I don't want this to become a forum for political conversations or debate, but I do feel that everyone in the world has value. I don't care what you are, they, them, she, he, you know, non-binary, trans. I love every person in the world for what they are because we are all part of the same source and the same fabric. And I even try to have compassion and love for those people who are not very kind or loving towards us. I have to just say that those people are further from the light than I would like for them to be. And maybe someday they'll have an awakening or an epiphany that will take them closer to being nice and reasonable and just and loving. You know, when you walk into a room, there's no darkness switch, there's just a light switch. So, in my opinion, you're either closer to the light or you're further from it. So, that being said, this forum is a very open forum, and I am looking forward to some things that we have coming up. We have some interviews with some very interesting people coming up that I think will be of value to you and that you will really enjoy. Today, I thought we would start off with a few things that have been on my mind, which is in a lot of the products that we consume and that we use, there are things that are hidden under names that we may not recognize that do contain animal products. And a lot of them are fairly obvious, but some of them are definitely not obvious, and you may not know that. In toothpastes and shampoos and even in soda, there's a lot of times glycerin, which is derived from pork. So it kind of reminds me, there's a Primus record album CD called Pork Soda, and I believe that's what they're referencing, is that, sometimes you're drinking the fat of a pig when you're consuming soda, right? So there are options for people who like sodas. There's some natural sodas. I know Hanson's makes a decent soda. I'm not a soda fan. I don't drink soda. I used to, before I became a vegan and vegetarian, I used to drink 6 Dr. Peppers a day. So I definitely had a soda addiction, and that's a lot of sugar, and it's a lot of really unhealthy stuff. It probably had glycerin in it. I haven't looked at a can of Dr. Pepper in a very long time. But what I do to satiate that need when I have it is I drink sparkling water, and I get these little packets of just powdered ginger from Trader Joe's, and sometimes add a little bit of maple syrup to that and make kind of a mocktail, and that satisfies my need for both, a drink and for something bubbly that's kind of fun. So that's an option. I don't know if that would appease your senses and your sensibilities, but I'm going to throw it out there as something that you may enjoy. I enjoy it. So, as mentioned before, a lot of items which are used commonly in America are banned in Europe and other countries, and rightfully so. So that includes some herbicides and some pesticides that we use here that are definitely not used elsewhere, because they have already determined that they are not beneficial for the earth or for you to consume. So quite often corporations put profit over people, and they're not concerned with your health and well-being. So it's good to be aware of that. Again, I don't want to make it a political forum, but be informed and know what it is you're putting in your body. I think it's good information. So what I want to talk about is some things that we may not think about, and things that go unnoticed without closer examination. Also, I'm going to mention that a lot of these are very technical terms. They're scientific names. So I may not get the articulation right. I may pronounce them incorrectly, so be a little lenient with me, be forgiving, as I'm trying to provide you with good information. But a lot of these things are new to me too, and I'm not used to saying them, and I don't see them in the products that I buy, because I am particular about the products that I buy and where they come from. So I'm going to start off with the A's, and that's ambergris, which is a product that's derived from whale intestines. And that's utilized in perfumes. It's also found in flavorings, in food, and in beverages. Angora is a pretty obvious one for most people. That is rabbit hair, and they do use that in clothing. A lot of Angora sweaters used to be really, really popular back in the day, and a lot of people wore those. And I understand, if you live in the woods and that's the only way you can keep warm, and you're eating the animal and using its hide to clothe yourself, there probably aren't a lot of options for you. It's not like you can order from a catalog and have it delivered. I'm not going to make any judgments about that, but I'm pretty sure there are alternate products that you can get that are faux fur and that are totally ethically sustained, that would suffice and give you the same kind of feel and look to that product that you would like without harming an animal. I mean, a lot of us have had bunnies as pets, and they're quite cute. They're really very loving and friendly. I've also heard a lot of people that I know have ducks and geese and chickens, and a lot of ducks, geese, and chickens like to be held, petted. So they're not without a soul. They're living creatures, and they want to be treated kindly. If you're eating them because you need to, I get it. If you live out in the woods and this is your means of sustaining yourself, then I'm not making any judgments towards you. But those of us who live in civilized society, generally speaking, we have options available to us. And I'm also assuming that people living in the woods aren't really accessing or would be even remotely interested in what it is I have to say about that. Animal hair is used also in blankets, in mattresses, and in brushes. So toothbrushes, hairbrushes, things like that. Biotin, vitamin H, and vitamin B factor are animal derived. Blood is often used as an adhesive in things like plywood, in cheese making, and in foam rubber. Bone meal is obviously ground bone. Bone char is a charcoal made from bones, and it's used to process sugar, generally white sugar. Also, I have heard that some French wine companies use it to purify and distill their wines. So some French wines do use bone char in the making of their products. So there's lots of wine companies out there from California and from other parts of Europe that don't utilize this technique. So if you do drink wine, which I don't, there are definitely wines out there that you can get that don't have that in them. When I did drink wine, I oftentimes would get it from the co-op here in town, and they have really, really good deals on organic wines. I would suggest that you drink your wine, organic wine, because if you think about it, grapes are sprayed a lot to keep the pests off, and there's a lot of residual pesticide in grapes. So if you're drinking non-organic wine, it's definitely going to have some pesticide residual inside. Bacon flavoring is pretty obvious. It's from bacon, which is from pigs. And you're going to find that flavoring in some chips and items like that. Glycerin is generally derived from pork. It's found in toothpastes, it's found in soda, and it's found in gum. And there's a Primus record from back in, I think, the 90s called Pork Soda. And I believe that's what he's referencing, is that there's glycerin in pork in your soda. So a lot of traditional gums have glycerin in them as well. So if you think about it, you're drinking and chewing pork, which seems really strange and kind of unnecessary, really. There are lots of vegan, vegetarian options for those products out there. Propolis is something you'll find in toothpaste that's animal derived. Albuminia is a protein, it's a component of egg whites. Anchovies is a fish. And animal shortening is a butter or lard substitute. It's made from animals, obviously. Castrum, here's a really lovely one. Castrum is often listed as natural flavor. That's in a lot of things. It's in lipsticks and a lot of beauty products. So when you go to kiss those red ruby lips, remember there may be some castrum in the lipstick that is on those lips. Wipe those lips before you kiss me. Bonito flakes is something I mentioned the other day when I was shopping at the big box shopping store. You're going to find those oftentimes in Asian foods, in Thai foods, Chinese food, things like that. Fish sauce and bonito flakes are pretty common in some ethnic cuisines. So many times if you ask them to omit that, they don't have a problem with it. It's not that quintessential in the flavor of what it is that you're trying to get. Also, in things like fried rice, there's generally eggs, and in pad thai, there is generally some kind of fish as well as egg. Crushed up bugs in candy is called carmine. It's a red dye, and it's in cosmetics, it's in lipstick and blush, and you'll also find this in yogurts, cakes, beverages, and meats. That's some good eating. There are definitely vegan condoms out there. I have purchase them online, and I know that they're available. Gelatin is a thickener made from bone, skin, and connective tissue. You're going to find that in Jell-O. You're going to find it in instant soups and in ramen. And it's also in some juices. So, you know those typical ramen bowls that you get at the store? They almost always have gelatin in them. So there's going to be some pork in those. There are definitely vegan options for that because I have found them in the health food store and I've consumed them. And you know, back in the day when I didn't care about this stuff, I ate a lot of ramen when I was a poor musician going to music school. And there's also a lot of MSG in those things. So after a while, it'll really get to you. It got to a point where I consumed so much of it that just the smell of those little packets made me go, oh no, I can't for the life of me eat that. I would just eat the noodles and omit the packet of spices. Castor is a creamy substance with a strong odor, and it's made from muskrat and beaver genitals. Yeah, that's good stuff. When I was young, my mom insisted on giving us a tablespoon of castor oil in the morning prior to heading off to school. And I always thought it was nasty. And now I know why. It's almost always synthetic these days. And I think it's because it's become increasingly difficult to find muskrats and beavers. And it's not produced at a very high rate from those animals either. Catgut is the intestines of sheep and horses. It's used in surgical sutures. So when you need to get yourself sewn up at the hospital, generally speaking, they're sewing you up with catgut. It's also in the racket of a tennis racket. It's the strings in the tennis racket, unless they're made of synthetics. It's also in some musical instruments. If you are a classical musician and you play things like cello or violin, or you use a bow, then it's likely that you're using some form of catgut in that. I believe there probably are some options that are not made from animal products at this point in time, but I think on the whole, most of those instruments utilize that primarily. Cholesterol is a steroid acid, and it's derived from animal fats and oil, including the nervous tissue. It's also derived from egg yolk and blood. And you're going to find cholesterol in a lot of things, but you'll find it in shampoo, which is really kind of peculiar. Read your shampoo bottles. They're full of all kinds of nasty chemicals and dyes. And I'm of the opinion that you can just use some plant-based soap and mostly, just use soap. If you want to clean, you want to use soap, right? If you're using a shampoo conditioner, I don't understand the principle of a shampoo conditioner. It probably has wax in it. So how clean is your hair getting? I think it's just getting waxy. It doesn't make sense that something can both strip and coat, right, in one product. It's not logical if you really think about it. Cysteine is an amino acid, and it's made from urine and horsehair. Down is obviously derived from goose feathers. A lot of us still wear down jackets, not myself personally, or have down pillows, down comforters, things like that. And if you think about it, there is no way to get feathers from a fowl outside of killing it and plucking their feathers, right? You don't see a lot of ducks and geese running around without feathers because they would have no protection and they would die, and it's not like those things grow back. Guanine is a pearl essence made from the scales of fish. Insulin is made from hog pancreas. Now, some synthetics are now available, so some insulin is now synthetic and derived from chemical sources, but not necessarily from animals. Keratin is ground up horns, hoofs, feathers, quills, hair of animals. And you'll find that in hair rinses, shampoos, and in permanent wave solutions. You won't find it on the Rush album, Permanent Waves, because that's totally different. Lactose is a milk sugar that's derived from milk, which is generally from cows or sheep. Marine oil found in soaps, margarines, and lubricants, as well as paint, is derived from marine animals. Isinglass is a gelatin made from fish bladders. Lecithin is an animal fat or egg yolk. You're also going to find lutein, vitamin A, and vitamin B12 are going to be derived from animals unless they are specifically stipulated that they're from plant-based sources. Vitamin D3 is also going to be animal derived unless it stipulates that it's from a plant source. Whey is a milk protein. Some hidden things that are just sort of ambiguous. Terms like artificial flavor, natural flavor, or spices. Those can contain any number of these products that you don't really want to be ingesting, right? And for full disclosure, don't you want to know what's in your foods? When things say natural flavor or artificial flavor or spices, why don't you just tell me what they are? Why are you hiding what you're putting in my food or products? Lanolin is derived from a sheep's sebaceous gland. Lard is pure animal fat, usually from pork. And some beers and wine have isinglass, which we mentioned before. It's a gelatin-like substance from the bladders of freshwater fish like sturgeon. Castoreum, here's a gnarly one. Castoreum is the secretions from a beaver, and you're going to find them in breads, bagels, and it may be listed as L-cysteine, Cystine, and it is made from human hair and poultry feathers. And surprisingly, you're going to find this in places where you wouldn't imagine it would be. It's in Lender's bread, it's in Einstein Brothers bagels, breads in McDonald's, and in some of the breads in Pizza Hut. Bristles that you find on your toothbrush are often made of animal hair, and those are generally derived from pigs, sable, horses, and badger. Chitosan, a fiber derived from crustacean shells. It's a lipid binder in diet products. Beeswax is obviously from bees. Bone meal is obviously just what it says and what a meal it is. CETYLE alcohol is derived from animal products. Adrenaline is a hormone from the adrenal glands of hogs, cattle, and sheep. There's a lot of really wonderful stuff on this list. And, the list really actually goes on from there. There's a lot of things in products that we are unaware of, that we are not told where they're from, and we probably just haven't asked those questions a lot of times, right? So take a look at what you're eating, take a look at the ingredients in there. If you don't know what they are, Google them, look them up, find out what it is that you're putting in your body and what it is you're using. And then if you find that they have things inside that you don't really want to be ingesting, stop using those products and buy an alternative that may be more beneficial for your health and more beneficial for the planet. So that's about all on this spiel today. All right, let's see what other trouble we can get into today. That's going to wrap it up for today. I hope you enjoyed this show. Please help us out by telling a friend or two. Play it forward. We hope to see and speak with you again soon. This is Drew, signing off.